All right, everybody, NES makers, we are on day 9. Can you believe it? We are on day 9 of this month of this tutorial series of creating a NES game fast. And I know some parts I'm explaining more than I thought I was. I thought I was going to go really sort of quickly through things, but I'm hoping it helps. If you remember yesterday, we made this character. We've got sort of a forward and a side and a backwards, and we could flip it so we can get this side. And we've also got his new death, which is actually going to be him spinning. So this should show this one, then this one, and then this one, and then this one flipped, and maybe a couple times, and then boom, it goes through that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to implement this animation today. So what we already have an object for the player, right? We've already got this, but now we've got all these extra things. What we've got to do is we've got to think of all the animations that we need. So right now I've just got one called normal and one called death. And we learned how to do that. We made 2 animations. Remember, we made this animation, we made that animation. What I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to manage my animations, which is going to bring up a little window like this. And I'm not going to call this normal anymore. I'm going to call this idle down, and I'm going to rename it. And then I'm going to make one called idle up, and I'm going to rename it. Then I'm going to make one called idle left, and I'm going to rename it. I'm going to make one called idle right and rename it. And now I need 4 walking too. So I'm going to do walk up, and I'm going to add walk down, and I'm going to do walk left, and I'm going to do walk right. So what I've got is I've got 9 animations. I've got idle 4 directions, and I've got walking 4 directions, and then I've got death. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that. And now I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to create all these animations. So for idle down, I'm just going to make sure I've got my first subpalette clicked on, and I'm going to choose this guy. And now I could actually make some choices. Like, do I want red to be my color? He's going to be against a green background, so I don't want it to be green, but maybe blue will look better. Maybe a darker blue would look better. I could sort of make those choices now. I'm going to stick with a red color, reddish color, only because it'll give him sort of offset to the bluish color of the hair. I could also change the color of the hair. Like if I wanted this to be a brown, like I could do that kind of thing. Maybe even a lighter brown, but that's going to be an outline color. So that actually doesn't look too bad. I kind of like that zoomed out. Like it looks a little harsh from here, but when it's zoomed out like here, it actually looks pretty good. Okay, never mind. I'm going to make that. That's my new palette right here. Was idle down. So now I'm going to make idle up. I'm going to skip over death for a second. Make idle up, which is this one. Then I'm going to make idle left, which I don't have idle left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose idle right. And I'm going to go to where it says flip animation, and that's going to flip it. Then I'm going to go to idle right, and I'm going to choose this guy. And now I've got to do my walk cycles, which if I go to my walk up, right, that's 4 frames. So right now I only have 1 frame. I need to make it 4 frames long, and now I can choose which frame I have, where it says frame. So my frame 1 is actually going to be stepping like this. Frame 2 is going to be together. Frame 3 is going to be stepping, but I'm going to flip this. But I don't want to flip the whole animation because that would flip all the frames in animation. I just want to flip the frame. And then my 4 is going to be together again. And I can now preview that by hitting the play button. Now that's a pretty bad looking animation. I'm not going to lie. I definitely want to clean that up. Also, I don't know why this side of his head's all squared off. This is smoother. Because that's supposed to be his like comb over or whatever. I don't love this, but you know what? It is for now. I could slow it down a little bit. Maybe that'll look. Yeah, I mean it's fine. It'll do for now. So I'm gonna pause that. This is not the speed it's actually going to play in game. This is just a reference for me to see while I'm sort of editing the animations. I'm not going to do walk down. Don't love my character, honestly, but he'll do. I need to make this 4 frames. Oops. So frame 1 is going to be actually him stepping forward. Like that. Frame 2 is going to be together. Frame 3, now this is kind of weird. I know I'm stepping forward. I could flip it, but you know what? I don't know if I want to flip the whole thing because now his hair is going to flip directions. So I could jump in and I could just unflip that and make it this frame, and unflip this and make it this frame. And now I've got his head, but I can see that since I didn't make him symmetrical, he's going to be off. So I kind of have to do it the other way. Kind of have to do it this way, how I originally had it. Oops. This one. Yeah, like that. I'm going to have to do it all because I don't have his body completely lined up, and that was just a bad design choice. But now I have together. Oops. Together. And oops. Sorry. There we go. Now I should have. That is terrible. So what is going on here? I got frame 1, frame 2, frame 3. Let me just redo frame 3. So I'm going to make sure that all these, nothing is flipped. It should be. Well, no, I think that's right. I think it just looks terrible. It's just a bad animation. Let's see. It looks like his hand's staying still when it shouldn't over here. So something's going on. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's try this again. So this is going to be him. If you ever have this happening, it's because you're trying to put frames into a flipped frame. So I'm going to go through. That's the way it should be. But I don't want anything flipped. Nothing flipped. Nothing flipped. Just going to go through and unflip everything. Make sure that nothing is flipped. Unflip everything. And then I'm just going to make sure I flip the frame that I want. I'm going to rebuild this. So I just went a long way around. So those are not flipped. So I want this to be my frame 1. I want this to be my frame 2. I want this to be my frame 3. This, but flipping the frame. And frame 4, I want that. So now, there we go. And again, I don't love this animation, but it'll do. I'm going to walk left. I don't have a walk left, but what I'll do is same thing, 4 frames. And I really only have 2 frames of this. I could have added that other frame with the other arms forward, but I'm barely going to notice it because it's going to go so fast. So my first frame is going to be apart. Frame 2 will be together. Frame 3 will be apart again. It's just that same one. Frame 4 will be together. And it'll look like that. And it'll sell it fine. And then my walk right. And then I have to flip the animation to make us left. Right. And then my walk right, we do the same thing. Apart. Make it 4 frames. Sorry. Together. Apart. And together. Like that. And then I got to go back to my death. Right here. So for my death, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to make it a full 8 frames now. And I'm going to make it spin. So he's going to be like this. And then 2, he's going to be like this. And then 3, he's going to be like this. And then 4, he's going to be like this. But I'm going to flip that frame. So he's going to spin around. And then frames 5 through 8, he's going to have fallen. 6, 7, 8. And that'll almost make him pause on that last frame for a second before it actually restarts the game. But I can tell that like I got hit right there. If I run it a little faster, it's kind of neat. I kind of like that. All right, so that's honestly my favorite animation of the bunch. But now that I've got that animation, I've got the animations built. And I think about how many types of animations I actually have here. I have 9 animations, but I really only have 3 types of animations, right? I've got moving and idle and death. Those are 3 types of animations. We kind of did this here. If I go to object details, you remember I had normal and die. Well, normal now is going to be not normal. I'm going to rename normal to idle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if I'm facing down, it's going to be idle down. If I'm facing right, it's going to be idle right. If I'm facing up, it's going to be idle up. And if I'm facing left, it's going to be idle left. Die is always the same death. And then I need to add one. I need to add one for walk. And for walk, I'm going to say walk down. And then for right, I'm going to walk right. And then for up, I'm going to walk up. And then for left, I'm going to walk left. So now I've got idle set and death set and walk set. And I can go to my actions now. And this is where I've got to decide what action step is going to be what animation. So action step 0 is going to be idle, and action step 7 is die. We've already got that set up. What we don't have set up is in our system, That's just the way this module works. Is that action step 0 is idle and action step 1 is set up to walk. And I'm going to show you why in a second. So I'm going to set that to walk, and I'm going to give it sort of a speed, and I'm probably going to change my death speed a little bit faster too. So idle doesn't need a speed because it's idle. So unless your idle is animating, we don't need a speed. Walk does need a speed, so make sure that we put a walk. And we don't need to do any of the AI stuff because it's just we're controlling all the action here. So looks like my bounding box is still pretty good. I might make it a little narrower this time though, because my character's real mass is right sort of here. So I don't really need it out around there. And I usually, if I'm going to cheat for the player or the computer, I usually cheat for the player. So I usually, I don't include that edge of his hair right there or his bottom of his feet. I'm going to close that. So now, if I hit save, I don't really have to, but you can see my player turns into my player over here. I'm going to look at my scripts, my input scripts, and I'm going to look at my script for move left and move right. So if I look at move left, this is where it's changing facing direction right here, right? But I also want to do something else. I want it to change my action step to moving. That's the other thing I want to have happen when I press my directional buttons. You could build that right into this, but just in case you ever want to separate them for any kind of reason, I have a separate script that changes it to action step 1 if you're moving and changes it to action step 0 if you're pressing stop. I'm going to go to input scripts. I'm going to go to 4 or 5, game, input scripts. I can see there's one called change action to moving, and there's one called change action to stop. I'm going to double click on both of those. This doesn't actually move at all. This doesn't stop moving. What it does is it changes the action step. That's what's going to make it change from 0 action step to 1. So I'm going to make, when I press a button, it's going to change action to moving. What it's really doing is it's changing action step to 1. Change action to stop is really changing action step to 0. And if I look at my player, what those scripts are going to do is I'm going to go to action. It's going to change action to 1 when I press a button, which is going to show walking. And it's going to change action to 0 if I let go of the button. And if I get hurt, it's going to go to 7. So if I go to input editor, I'm going to go to main game, make sure it's in main game state. When I press up, it's going to change action moving. When I press left, it's going to change action moving. When I press down, it's going to change action moving. When I press left, it's going to change action moving. Then when I let go of up, it's going to change action to stop. Right, it's going to change action to stop. Down is going to change action to stop. And letting go of left is going to change action to stop. So we just added 8 new scripts. 4 of them are change action to moving when I press the keys. 4 of them are change action to stop if I let go of the keys. So let's take a look at what that looks. And it should just work. We should have plugged that in, and now I actually have my character moving around the screen instead of just the weird block man. Right? So press start, and there's my guy. And he animates. And so that's a little bit more interesting for a character than what I had before with a little block man running around. And if I control T to restart, if I die, you can see I do that flip. But I don't restart. So I must have accidentally erased my restart game there, or it doesn't like the fact that I went to 8 frames. Let's see. So if I make I do have it says restart screen. So let me do this. If you notice this happening, there might be a problem with the 8th frame of animation. So just make it 7 if that happens. So instead of making it 8, I'm going to make it 7. And let's see if that fixes the problem. Okay. Just a bug, just a glitch. It could be fixed in code, but right now I'm trying to make something with what you've got access to. So there we go. And now I get the power up, and now I kill him. Aha, awesome. I run to this. Awesome. So now we've got, this is a pretty short tutorial, but I don't know if I want to start something brand new. We can see that I was able to take the animation I made yesterday, put it into a character, and actually implement it into my game. And I lose, start over again, and awesome. Now I'm rocking and dying. And I can even make one when I collect all the things, I show a win animation instead of just going right there and then having it warp to the next screen once I show a win animation. So that way there's a little bit of a thing. But we might instead try to do a light cutscene or something instead, make it a little bit more interesting now that you understand how to add animation. So this one's a little bit short. But hopefully that gives you, between yesterday's being a little bit long, this one being a little bit short, now you know how to implement an animation for your player. You could also use the same techniques to change to different action steps when you do different things. Like if you press the start button and it changes to something, it could change to a different action step, which that would take it from this action step to, let's say we changed it to action step 2, it would change it to this, and then it would show whatever animation you have here. Don't forget though, when you press the key, it would go back to this because you told it when you press the left key, it goes to 1. And notice also, if you try and press a button when you're hurt, it's not going to change to moving because we are looking at action step and comparing it to 7. If it's not equal to hurt, it's going to go here. It's going to continue on in the code, and then it'll change it. But if it was equal to hurt, guess what? It's not doing anything. You're going to see this show up a lot. This is one of the ways that we get around moving when we don't want to move, or changing our action step when we don't want to change it. When it's 7, we don't want any more control. So basically, in all of our scripts, same thing with move. It checks the action step to see if it's 7. If it's not 7, it means it can move down. If it is, it just returns from the subroutine. It doesn't do anything. So you can't move when you're hurt. You can't change to action when you're hurt. You can't change to stop when you're hurt. So that's what that piece of script is. It's what you would want to do if you made another type of animation. You could compare it to 7 and say, oh, don't jump if you're hurt. And then you can compare it to 6 and say, also don't jump if you're invincible. Don't change. If you're some other animation that you had, don't walk or don't change animations. So just some thoughts for you. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos, and definitely like and subscribe to let me know that you're digging them, and leave comments below. Share these. Get them out there. Let's all make NES games fast. See you tomorrow.